A citizen in the city of Minneapolis shot dead by immigration enforcement agents. State and federal officials are giving conflicting narratives.
Over the past several days, national attention has been focused on Minneapolis after a U.S. citizen was killed during a federal immigration enforcement operation. The incident immediately triggered protests, calls for investigations, and intense scrutiny of how federal agents are operating inside U.S. cities.
You're gonna burn in hell!
Video footage circulating online raised questions about the initial official account, and pressure quickly mounted from civil rights groups, local officials, and members of Congress. What began as a local tragedy has now become a national political flashpoint. President Trump responded forcefully. Rather than backing away from his immigration strategy, he doubled down, blaming Democratic leadership for what he described as chaos in major cities and defending federal agents as doing their job.
Well, you know, we're doing a big investigation. I want a BB investigation. I'm going to be watching over it. I want a very honorable and honest investigation. I have to see it myself.
He has said the administration is reviewing the incident, but he has not pulled back on enforcement operations. That response has fueled even more debate. Democrats argue the federal government overstepped its authority and endangered civilians, while some Republicans, notably not all, but enough to matter, have also expressed concern and called for transparency and accountability. This is important. When criticism starts coming from both sides of the aisle, it signals that the issue isn't fading anytime soon. At the same time this was unfolding, something else happened that added fuel to the fire. The White House hosted a private screening of a new documentary centered on First Lady Melania Trump. The event included high-profile guests and was described by supporters as a cultural milestone. Critics, however, slammed the timing. With protests growing and public anger spreading over the Minneapolis incident, many felt the event came across as tone-deaf. Social media erupted with debate over whether the administration was prioritizing image and optics over addressing national unrest. Supporters argue the event was scheduled long in advance and shouldn't be politicized. Opponents say perception matters, especially during moments of national tension. This contrast between crisis and ceremony became a symbol for many of the broader criticisms Trump faces. A leadership style that thrives on confrontation, sharp messaging, and unapologetic decision-making even when the country is deeply divided. Inside the Republican Party, the pressure is growing. While Trump maintains strong support among his base, some GOP lawmakers are uneasy about how these events are playing out. Particularly with elections on the horizon, party leaders now face a familiar question: how closely to align with Trump's approach and at what political cost? Looking ahead, there are several things to watch closely. First, investigations into the Minneapolis incident are ongoing, and any new evidence or official findings could dramatically shift public opinion. Second, Congress may see renewed fights over immigration funding and federal oversight, especially if protests continue or expand. Third, how the administration handles public messaging from here on out will matter. Trump has always relied on controlling the narrative, but in moments like this, narratives can turn quickly. And finally, pay attention to how Republicans respond. Whether they close ranks or continue to show cracks could have long-term consequences for the party. So here's the big question: does this moment strengthen Trump's image as a tough, no-compromise leader, or does it deepen concerns about division, accountability, and priorities? That answer may depend on what happens next. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is this backlash justified, or is Trump being unfairly targeted? Because since those developments, even more major Trump stories have unfolded, and some of them could have huge global consequences. Let's jump straight in. One of the biggest international headlines right now involves Trump and Iran. Recently, Trump publicly stated that Iran is currently negotiating with the United States. According to him, talks are ongoing, but he warned that if negotiations fail, the situation could escalate quickly. Trump also mentioned that the US has a large military fleet positioned in the region, which many analysts believe is a signal meant to pressure Iran during negotiations. What really caught attention, though, is Trump saying that the US cannot share military plans with Gulf allies during these negotiations because of security concerns. That statement has raised eyebrows internationally and sparked debate about transparency with allied nations. If these negotiations succeed, it could reduce tensions in the Middle East. If they fail, it could create one of the most serious geopolitical crises of Trump's presidency so far, and global markets, energy prices, and military military alliances are all watching this closely.
Pause and strikes on Ukraine's energy infrastructure was only after U.S. presidents.
Now let's shift to another major foreign policy challenge Trump has been heavily involved in, the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Ending this conflict has been one of Trump's biggest campaign promises, but so far the results have been complicated. Trump held high-profile meetings with Russian President Vladimir Putin and proposed a detailed peace plan that includes reconstruction aid and security guarantees. However, no final peace agreement has been reached. Trump has also pushed a controversial position that Ukraine's NATO membership should be limited, while encouraging European allies to increase their own military support.
Equipment, and your men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about West?
If you didn't have our military equipment, if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over.
At the same time, Trump has publicly clashed with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, creating tension between the two leaders and raising questions about future U.S. support for Ukraine. Currently, Russia still controls about 20% of Ukrainian territory, and attacks on infrastructure continue, so the war remains unresolved, and Trump's approach continues to divide political experts and world leaders. Meanwhile, Trump is also making headlines domestically, especially with disaster recovery efforts in California. Following devastating wildfires that destroyed thousands of homes and killed multiple people, Trump recently proposed a 10% financial bonus for residents rebuilding in affected areas. He also signed executive actions designed to override state and local permit delays, arguing that bureaucracy is slowing down rebuilding efforts. Trump even suggested assigning federal leadership to step in and speed up reconstruction approvals. Supporters say this could dramatically accelerate recovery for families who lost everything. Critics argue it could weaken environmental protections and local government authority. Either way, this policy could become a model for how future natural disasters are handled nationwide. Now, here's another development that has sparked serious legal and constitutional debate. Trump's administration has taken aggressive positions regarding presidential power, especially in national security decisions. One controversial example involves actions surrounding TikTok and foreign technology regulation. Trump's legal team has argued that Presidential National Security Authority can override certain congressional laws, a claim that many legal scholars say could dramatically expand presidential power if accepted. At the same time, TikTok recently completed a deal transferring partial ownership of its US operations to American-linked investors, creating a joint venture structure designed to address security concerns. This issue blends technology, national security, and free speech. And it's still unfolding. Another area where Trump has made significant moves involves China and advanced technology competition. His administration has already placed export restrictions on dozens of foreign entities accused of helping develop military technologies tied to artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and advanced weapons systems. These restrictions are part of Trump's broader strategy to limit China's access to sensitive US technology and maintain American dominance in emerging tech sectors. Supporters see this as protecting national security and economic competitiveness. Critics warn it could escalate trade tensions and accelerate global tech fragmentation. Now, let's talk about one of the most politically explosive developments still echoing through Washington. Trump's Department of Justice launched a renewed investigation into the origins of earlier federal investigations connected to alleged Russian election interference. The investigation claims that previous probes into Trump's 2016 campaign may have involved misconduct or conspiracy by federal officials. However, earlier investigations, including the Mueller investigation and other federal reviews, previously confirmed Russia did interfere in the election, while finding insufficient evidence of criminal conspiracy between Trump's campaign and Russia. This new probe has intensified political division and could reshape how intelligence investigations are handled in the future. And finally, there's a major trend that analysts say defines Trump's second presidency overall. He is pursuing a strategy that combines aggressive foreign policy pressure with simultaneous attempts at negotiation and deal-making. You can see that pattern in late negotiations with Iran, peace attempts in Ukraine, tech and trade conflicts with China, national security reforms, disaster recovery reforms domestically. Some supporters describe this as bold leadership and unconventional diplomacy. Critics describe it as unpredictable and risky. But regardless of political viewpoint, one thing is clear: Trump's second presidency is reshaping both American policy and global alliances at a rapid pace. And here's why all of this matters going forward. Many of these issues, especially foreign policy negotiations, constitutional power debates, and tech competition, could have effects that last decades. We're not just talking about political headlines. We're talking about decisions that could influence global stability, military alliances, economic markets, technology control, and America's role in the world. So expect these stories to keep evolving and possibly accelerating in the months ahead. Because if Trump's presidency has shown anything so far, it's that major announcements and global impact decisions can happen fast, sometimes overnight. If you made it this far, you're officially caught up on the newest Trump developments right now. But trust me, this story is far from over. If you want consistent updates and deep dives into major political stories like this, make sure you subscribe, drop a like, and comment your thoughts below. Do you think Trump's policies are strengthening America or creating bigger risks globally? I want to hear your perspective. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.